I'm gonna tell you straight up, all of those people that you see online that are saying that you can beat procrastination, you can do this, you can do that, they're right. You can beat procrastination, right? But I can't say that you can do it like that, right? You know, we're all human. We all procrastinate to some extent, right? You just got to be smart about it. Because if you're dumb about it, then you're going to be the people who procrastinate and they do horrible. Whereas there's people who procrastinate and they do amazing. And, there's obviously those people in between where they procrastinate some and they do good. There's people that don't and they exceed. There's so many different mismatches, but you can't just say, I don't procrastinate. Because everyone procrastinates to some degree, especially as you get older. The responsibilities get stacked and stacked and stacked, and your priorities shift and shift, and you're just like, I'm working on my schoolwork. I can't work on my YouTube channel. I'm working on my fitness, so I can't work on getting a raise at my job. I don't know. There's procrastination, and it's as a result caused by priority, and you got to be smart. So I'm gonna tell you how. So first thing, right, when you see a deadline approaching, right, you got to have like some intuition in your mind about like, when is it too late? When do you actually need to start like doing the thing that you need to get done, right? Because obviously, like, you have the deadline, right, and then there's people who the day before the deadline, they're like, oh, I'm like, I gotta do this, right? I gotta do this now. Whereas if you're a smart procrastinator, you'll start working on this slowly, like 3 days before, like 10%, right? Because the hardest part about like procrastination and why a lot of people struggle is they can't start the thing, right? They can't start it. And starting it is the hardest part. And once you start it, you're like, oh, I can finish it. And you might as well finish it because you started. If you didn't start it and you didn't do anything, then people are more likely to not work on it at all, and they'll just like get a zero. The type of procrastination I'm talking about here is one where there's actually deadlines and things that you need to like keep in mind, and there's actually like initiative to actually finish the thing, and mostly for school, for work, and shit like that, right? So you have to be like, have that intellect to know when you need to like start, and once you start, how much do you need to do the following time that you have left, right? So for example, I have an essay, right? I had an essay for one of my finals. I low-key did like 70% of the whole essay in the 4 hours before it was due. It was due at 12 at like the afternoon, 12 a.m. or like 12 p.m. And I started at 8, I woke up at 8, and I finished the other 70%, right? But the 30%, that 30% of the essay was very, very important, even though it took me 2 days to work on it. 2 days of like, not working 2 days straight, obviously, but like I spent 2 days just like getting my mind to actually do the 30% of the 2,000 word essay. I probably wrote like 600 words, right? And the 1,400, I wrote it in the 4 hours. But just because of the urgency of the 1,400, right? If I had all 2,000 left in those 4 hours, I would have been cooked. I would have just said, all right, I'll just fucking like bullshit it out, right? You gotta spread the bullshit out, like, as much as, it's like a sunk cost fallacy thing, some microeconomic shit that I learned. You already invested 30%. You already invested your time into 30% of that, so you might as well bullshit the other 70% and submit it, right? You got to start before you actually need to start. You have a deadline. 3 days before, start on it. Get 5% done. I don't care. Get 1% done. Just start it, right? Then the next day, get more of it done. And then the last day, you're going to have so much adrenaline. You're going to be so stressed. You're going to be like, oh, I got to finish this shit. And then you actually like finish it. And if it might be half-assed, right? But the amount of effort that you put into it in most scenarios is the amount of effort you would put into it if you spread it across a month, however long you had from when you got the assignment, when you got the work, to when it was due, right? Because realistically, you wouldn't have spent 10 times as much time on that thing unless it was really, really important, right? So just because you spent 3 days on it, you probably had more time during the other 27 days. Let's assume it's a 1 month project. The other 27 days, you were doing other shit because you had other priorities that you were juggling around, right? You had doctors, you had gym, you had shower, bro. I hope you showered. Please shower, man. But the 3 days, right? That 3 days, you probably spent as much effort, maybe a little less, but as much effort as if you started working on it like 15 days before, right? Because it would have just been spread out thinner instead of all crammed up and bullshit. But it's about 90% of the bullshit that you would have written anyway if you had the whole time, right? So that's like for work where you actually have a deadline and you can tangibly visualize, oh, I need to get this done by this time, right? That's a good technique. Just having and developing the intuition to know to start. Because starting is the hardest part. And once you start, it's like you can spread out the bullshit however way for the following time, you know? And for work where there is no deadline, it's just dependent on you. Because it's work that's not granted by someone else, whether it's a teacher or your boss. It's work that you have to do for yourself, like going to the gym. And you're procrastinating that, right? That's a harder type of procrastination because this shit has no deadline. It's for life. It could be forever. It could be who knows, right? There's no specified deadline. There's no timeline. There's just like, you got to do it because if you don't do it, you're going to be behind. And that's for like gym. That's for like applying for jobs. That could be, you know, doing projects. That could be your own hobbies. That could be, you know, spending time with your family. Just, you know, making sure that you're healthy, you know, helping other people in your community. It's stuff that there's no deadline, but you know that if you don't do it, you're like, you know, it's stuff that you have to do. But because it's going to benefit you, not because someone else telling you. And there's other, you know, categories. It could be other stuff. Maybe it's something that's given to you by someone, but there's no specific deadline either way. But you just have to do it because someone else told you to. And it's like, you know, there's some scenarios, right? But for procrastination for work where you don't have a deadline, how do you solve it, right? It's a lot harder, right? And what I can say to you is the best way to go about it, you can obviously adopt the start it, you know, because you're going to have to start it. And even though it's like something that you have to do continuously, because it's not like you can track the progress, you know, because there's no real 100% for like fitness, because you just keep on going at it. You just got to like think about it, right? If I skip the gym for a week, if I don't do coding projects for a week, if I don't, you know, go outside for a week, if I don't travel, or not even travel, if I don't go to somewhere new for a week, the things that you have to do, if you don't do it for a week, right? How much of like your progress are you going to lose? And realistically, you might not lose a lot, right? You know, it's a month. It's not, I mean, it's a week, right? It's a week. If I don't work out for a week, I might lose some progress, but I won't lose it much, right? But if you have that mentality, then extend it across a month and a year, then you're like fucking cooked, right? So you just gotta like think about like, if you need to like skip today, right? If you skip today, are you also going to skip tomorrow? If you skip tomorrow, are you also going to skip the following day? If you're going to skip the following day, are you also going to skip the following day? If you are going to skip the following days, you might as well do it today, right? However much. And I have multiple videos about techniques like doing the bare minimum to stay consistent with stuff that you have to do where there's no specific deadline, right? And you can watch those videos in my channel. I talk about doing the bare minimum. I talk about, you know, trying to, you know, just like do it, right? If you think that you're not going to do it today, you have to be confident that you do it tomorrow or the other next day. Because if you don't, then you might as well do it today. Because this shit is like a wheel. It keeps on rolling and it's like a snowball and it keeps on getting bigger. And then you realize it's 2026 and you didn't do shit. So you might as well do it today. Thank you for watching and you got to be smart if you're going to procrastinate.